And let's stay with this very story. If you've just tuned in, the much anticipated provincial elective conference in the Free State has been delayed, and now claims of violence, rubber bullets have been used, and one of the people that were gathered there said that a woman had been assaulted in a standoff with authorities. Earlier, the registration process was disrupted by a group, so some of them may be there on the streets with our reporter. They said their names were not on the delegation list, even though they were chosen by their branches. So we know for some branches there are two groups saying that they are both legitimate delegates or groups of delegates. The branches themselves are divided. Meanwhile, the corruption case against the former ANC Secretary General and the former Free State Premier Magashule has been postponed again, so we'll discuss that as well. We're now joined by legal analyst Mpumelelo Zikalala and political analyst Professor Sethulego Matebesi. Professor, let me start with you and this conference that has been majorly disrupted. It's been delayed so many times, and David Mahlobo, the NEC delegate, was saying that the branches themselves have these parallel structures, so I guess it's hard for the ANC to decipher who should be represented at the main conference. Just give us some background here. Why does it seem to be such a mess?
Hi, good evening, Francis and my fellow guest panelists. I can just start off, and I mean, this is public knowledge, and it seems as if the African National Congress has completely lost the bedrock values that gave birth to this party. We can no longer talk of a united organization. And I strongly believe that you mentioned about the court case of that there is Magashule, somebody who's almost 2 decades the chairperson, the premier, and some of the public pronouncement that he made after today's postponement just gives you an indication when you've got senior leaders of the African National Congress making such stating allegations that the conference is already riddled, then then you are bound to find some of these happenings where you find that people are fighting over credentials and all that. Because we're talking about a former Secretary General who in the past would have taken on anybody who will come out in public and make such pronouncement about the African National Congress. Fact of the matter is, this is a highly contested elections within a province which for many years could not go or elect their leaders. And I think there is too much at stake and nobody wants to lose out of this battle. And it's very unfortunate. You should just come to Mangaung on any certain day and then you will see what are the direct consequences of this infighting. Lack of service delivery. It affects residents of this province.
Yeah, we know it's been very dire. Professor, staying with you, so the delays in the past have been blamed on clashes between branches or groups within one branch that are still loyal to Magashule and others pushing a renewal agenda. You said that Magashule's rhetoric today was inflammatory. So is that the issue? People who are pro or against Magashule, he still has a large presence looming over that province.
No, most definitely. I mean, leaders such as Magashule, you can't just wish off. And I've seen, so even some jokes have been made about his waning power, on social media. But I'm one of those who believe that, I can also just mention, for many years, somebody who has all the possibility of being elected, the chairperson of this province, has been in the wilderness of politics here in the Free State. And where is he today? He's wielding the power, although on an interim basis. So the same can happen. Once Magashule wins his case, or even years later, he may just come back. But currently, the two factions, the so-called Jacob Zuma RET forces against the renewal forces, is definitely an indication of the infighting within the African National Congress. And this is not only bound or, applicable to the Free State. This is what is happening nationwide. Each time there's a provincial elective conference. But I think the Free State is just taking a cup here.
All right, thank you, Professor. Let's look at Ace Magashule's case, and let me bring you in, Mr. Zikalala. The postponement of his corruption case is because he and some of his co-accused, Edwin Sodi, others, have approached the Supreme Court of Appeal to appeal the earlier decision to dismiss the legal challenge. They're saying that the charges against them are not valid. Do they have a legal argument there?
Good evening to you and also good evening to Prof. I would say if they are persisting with saying that we need to go to the SCA in order to ascertain our rights, they may have that particular legal challenge, but the prospects of success are quite slim. Let's remember that a court will then go into an inquiry where they will check, is there an unreasonable delay that has taken place? Section 342 capital A of the Criminal Procedure Act states the type of reasons or the elements which are then looked at. Now, if we look at those particular elements here, yes, there might be extent amount of delay, which may be unreasonable to a certain extent. However, it is not enough that it should throw the whole case away, because you still want to know the truth at the end of the day. It is worrying though, and the judge stated perfectly today and said that this matter has been on the awaiting trial roll for almost 2 years, which is something which should not happen if all the parties come together and they're able to move forward with all the processes. But I was happy with the way in which it was handled today. Despite those particular appeals which are going to take place, the court was very clear in terms of saying, I want the House to be in order by the time we come back in May. Make sure that all those outstanding things are attended to as soon as possible, so that in May you can come back with the trial date.
And Magashule was saying that he is not responsible for the delays. He wants his time in court. Let's hope it does get underway in May. Somebody's name came up again, Moradi Chilota, who was Ace Magashule's personal assistant when he was Premier. She was going to be a state witness. Then there's now a process to get her back from the United States. She will be standing trial, in fact. Ages ago, there was a concern, that the state had lost a crucial piece of their case if she's not a state witness. What do you think about that, Mr. Zikalala?
It's going to be crucial, although we'll not be privy to what the strategy of the state is. But you'd see that if they've branded you or listed you as a potential witness, that means you hold crucial information which could have helped them to prove beyond reasonable doubt that you are indeed guilty. It was a positive note, though, because I think it was her legal representative that said, no, she's going to come here. You don't need to engage in other extravagant or strenuous circumstances or activities in order to get her to attend this particular trial. On the next occasion, she would be here, which makes it easier for our government in terms of making sure that the trial moves as quickly as possible. But it may be a blow to the state's case, because if she holds crucial information that could have assisted the state, that means she's not going to be amenable to discussing it now, especially if she's one of the accused. And one of the accused in a trial or in a matter that carries a heavy sentence if you are indeed found guilty. So it's going to be quite a lot of an uphill battle in terms of saying, can you be able to prove beyond reasonable doubt that she's indeed guilty or participated in any issues of corruption? Anyways, it's going to be a difficult case, especially for the politicians, because at the end of the day, they're not really involved in the intimate matters of SAM issues. So unless you can be able to prove other ulterior motive, other benefits in which they've received, then poker can then come in. But if you can't, it's very difficult to link them to the daily administrative activities or non-compliance with the applicable legislation that could have occurred at the time in which Mr. S. Magashule was the Premier of Free State.
Yeah, compelling evidence will be needed. Prof, let's end with you. I'm interested in what you're saying about Ace Magashule potentially making a political comeback. He, of course, says that this is all a witch hunt by his detractors. He's made a lot of political statements. People have noticed, he was potentially a presidential contender, but he wasn't a presence at the national conference. And some saying, look, there wasn't even much support today at the court. So you still believe what he has been saying is resonating amongst ANC members?
Yes, one should be very cautious. I will never equate, people filling up stadiums and all that with political support. Political support It's a completely notion. I mean, we are where we are in the Free State exactly as a result of people who still believe. Remember, Dr. Magashule was responsible for appointing HODs in provincial the departments. Many people have been appointed. Some of them are still sitting in positions. And do you now think they will just relinquish, the modus operandi of doing things the way that Magashule have done in the past? I don't think, just because there's a new leadership. And what is an indictment on the African National Congress? I thought at least they will be able to move with speed after a very successful elective conference, national elective conference, very successful birthday celebrations here in Mangahu. One would have thought some of these issues about the conferences would have been resolved, but no, it's not resolved. And that tells you it's going to be very difficult to untangle the mindsets of people who have been taught for many years to respect the powerful, the trusted, the respected, and even, and I'm going to put it in inverted brackets, the ones who are inspiring. And you had leaders for many years who have mastered that trick, how to enforce their ideology, and it's very difficult for people to do that. The problem with the African National Congress, not only in the Free State, is that people are celebrating certain individuals, but they are not advancing the interests and ideologies of the party.
All right, thank you both for your time. We were joined there by legal analyst Mpumelelo Zikalala and political analyst Professor Sethulego Matebesi. We appreciate that indeed.